Hello student, I am Dr. Unish Kumar Dubey. I am faculty in CETM NIT Allahabad. Okay, so today I am going to give a lecture on low power VLSI design. To understand the low power VLSI design criteria, we have to understand some of the VLSI design about the need of low power and what are the power dissipation in CMOS design and what are the low power techniques available to control the power dissipation in VLSI design and what are the recent trends available to control the low power VLSI design and conclusions and some of the references used in this lecture. So first we have to understand what is the VLSI design. So VLSI design as abbreviated like very large scale integration. It contains large number of transistors in a digital and analog circuits where it can be integrated together because of the large number of logic gates on a single chip. So the digital circuits have the some advantage over the analog circuits, such as it has a smaller production cost and it has faster speed. But on the other side, the analog circuits have their own advantage because of real time signals are analog in nature. So we required a digital inevitable interface between digital and physical world. So the design of analog circuits sets the platform for the performance of the digital technology. Hence here the power dissipation plays the major role in VLSI design as we integrate large number of transistors in a single chip. So we also required high speed design. So due to the trade-off available between high speed and low power, we need to control the speed of any device or any IC. We have to also control the power dissipation of that particular device. So this will we will discuss later. So first we have to understand what is the need of low power dissipation. So there is a lot of desirability of portable devices, such as we use laptop, mobiles, calculators, cell phones means mobiles, and they all are portable devices uses some battery. So if the power dissipation of that particular device is low, then the durability of that portable device is high. And second is high packing density. So if we have a high packing density, means there is a lot number of transistors packed in a small area, or a small IC have large number of transistors inside. So a large power dissipation requires larger heat sink, hence increased area. Means if there is a large power dissipation, so to sink that particular power dissipation, that particular power dissipation is changed in heat or in temperature, and to sink that particular heat we required a large area. So high packing density reduces area as well as heat sink. Means as we reducing the area of any integrated circuit, means any ICs, the packing density reduces, hence area as well as heat sink also reduces for that particular IC. So for that phenomena we need a low power dissipation circuit to control the power dissipation in any integrated integrated circuits. So we nowadays the more of the ICs are made up of CMOS design. So first we have to understand what are the power dissipation already available or already degrade the performance of CMOS design. So the first we are discussing is static power dissipation, and second is dynamic power dissipation. So what is static power dissipation? So static power dissipation is mainly because of leakage currents during standby. Means a particular device is working, but for a particular time that device is in standby mode, but due to some leakage problem the battery is discharging of that particular device. Means like we are using laptop or cell phones, so we are not doing any work on that particular laptop or cell phone, but the battery is reducing, battery is discharging. So this is because of static power dissipation. So static power dissipation has many components. We will discuss that one by one. So to discussing, we are going to discuss on leakage current components of MOSFET or any MOSFET device. So here we can see that these are the leakage current in MOSFET. So the first one is the subthreshold conduction. So to understand the leakage phenomena of any MOSFET, we first have to understand what are the long channel device and what are the short channel device. So a long channel device have the more than 1 micrometer gate length, and the short channel device is below the 1 micrometer gate length. Nowadays 180 nanometer, 60 nanometer, 130 nanometer, 90 nanometer, 45 nanometer and 22 nanometer MOSFET are used to fabricate any IC or any device. So for a long channel device, the leakage current component is very negligible as compared to the dynamic current component or dynamic power dissipation. Means we can say that the dynamic power component is much larger than that of static power component. So these all the leakage current components are very negligible in long channel device, but as we are going to reduce the gate of or channel length of any MOSFET, so these components are not negligible in that case. Means as we are going to fabricate a device below 180 nanometer of channel length, these are very active in MOSFETs. So the first leakage current component is subthreshold conduction. So to understand the subthreshold conduction, we have to understand what is subthreshold. In generally, any MOSFET is told as off condition below the VTH when VGS is dropped below the VTH. VGS is gate to source voltage of any particular MOSFET, and VTH is the threshold voltage of that particular MOSFET. So if VGS is drops below VTH, that device is assumed to be turned off. But for VGS is nearly equals to VTH, a weak inversion layer still exists and some currents flow from drain to source. Even for VGS is less than VTH, ID is finite, means drain current is finite, but it exhibits as exponential characteristic on VGS called subthreshold conduction. So this effect can be formulated for VDS greater than roughly 200 millivolt for a short channel device. So ID is nearly equals to I naught exponential of VGS upon neta VT. VGS upon neta VT, where neta is greater than 1 is a non-ideal factor, and VT is the thermal voltage which is KT by Q, and for a room temperature it is given as 26 millivolt. we can say that that device is operates in weak inversion region. So except for neta, it is similar as exponential IC upon VB relation in any bipolar transistor. So the main point is have to understand that VGS falls below VTH, the drain current drops at a finite rate with typical value of neta. At the room temperature, VGS must decrease by approximately 80 millivolt for ID to decrease by 1 decade. The second leakage current component is drain to source punch through. We can see in the figure that uh, if there is a drain voltage applied for a short channel device, so a current from drain to source will flow without any application of gate voltage. How it going to be possible? Because when we apply the gate voltage in any MOSFET, there is a channel got induced, therefore current flows. But without applying that particular gate voltage, due to the short channel phenomena related to the threshold voltage drop, the drain induced barrier lowering. It can say that drain to source punch through is also known as the drain induced barrier lowering. So because of the weak inversion, the surface potential becomes more positive due to the high drain voltage. Without applying gate voltage, so the drain voltage makes the surface more positive by creating a two-dimensional field in the depletion region. So as a result, the barrier to the flow of charge and hence the threshold voltage decreases. Therefore, this effect called as drain to source punch through without applying any gate voltage. Now the third problem of short channel effect or leakage current is reverse bias PN junction conduction. So in this figure we can see that the drain region is N plus region and the substrate region is, or bulk region or substrate region is P region. So between this P and N plus there is a formation of diode, P N plus diode. So if reverse bias voltage, drain voltage is work like a reverse bias voltage for this P N plus diode, and as we are going to increase the drain voltage, there is a increase in reverse bias PN junction. So due to this increase in reverse bias PN junction, that particular reverse biasing will conduct and a current IDR will flow. So the fourth leakage current component is gate induced drain leakage. Silicon's atom at very high speed. As a result, new electron and holes are generated, with the electrons absorbed by the drain and the holes by the substrate. Thus, a finite drain substrate currents may appear. Also, if the carriers acquires a very high energy, they may be injected into the gate oxide and even flow out the gate terminal, introducing a gate current. So this is called the gate tunneling due to the thin oxide layer. So the next is dynamic power dissipation. So dynamic power dissipation happens mainly because of switching activity and the short circuit current when a transistor is operating. We can see in the figure 2 where the representation of dynamic power in CMOS inverter is shown. We can see when Vi is going from high to low or low to high, when Vi means input is from high to low, then output is from low to high, means that particular capacitor CL will charge that particular time when output is going low to high. So in charging phase, CL will get current from that PMOS and from VDD, and during the discharging phenomena of CL will discharge through the NMOS and ground when Vi is changing from low to high, output is changing from high to low. As we know that inverter is behaving like a opposite relation between input and output. So in between there is a state when both PMOS and NMOS will turn on during that switching. So then from VDD to ground a current will flow which is called as ISC, means short circuit current. So because of these three reasons, means charging of CL and discharging of CL and the short circuit current, we have dynamic power, and it is given by CL F VDD square plus PSC. PSC is nothing but ISC into VDD, and CL is the load current and load capacitor. F is the frequency of input voltage, and VDD is the higher power supply. So power dissipation in CMOS design. What is the major component of dynamic and static? Above 130 nanometer, which is also a short circuit channel, but above 130 nanometer, the dynamic power dissipation component is 90% effective and static power dissipation is only 10%. But as we going to reduce the channel length below 50 nanometer, the dynamic power dissipation is effective as 60%, but static power dissipation is effective as 40%. So the total power dissipation, we can say that it is nothing but due to the switching activity of capacitor and short circuit and leakage current. So all the three components have shown in the three different colors, and we can see that the green one is nothing but VDD to ground short circuit, the red one is nothing but charging and discharging of CL, and leakage phenomena is because of reverse bias PN junction, and other we have discussed earlier. So now we have to discuss what are the low power techniques already available in the VLSI design. So to reduce the dynamic power dissipation, there are several techniques like clock gating, variable frequency, variable power supply, multi-VDD, and DVFS is dynamic voltage and frequency scaling, where we can adjust voltage and frequency for dynamic power reduction. We will discuss one by one. And static power dissipation, to control the static power dissipation, there is ability of multi-threshold MOSFETs, power gating technique, bulk biasing or variable threshold, and high K, use of high K dielectric material for dioxide, silicon dioxide, or you can say HFO2. And some of the new process technology is also available to control this dynamic and static power. Generally, these are the leakage control available for the leakage control, such as SOI. SOI means silicon on insulator, FinFET, multi-oxide design, and carbon nanotubes. So the first one technique which is used to control the dynamic power dissipation is clock gating. Clock gating is a popular technique generally used in the synchronous circuits to reduce the dynamic power dissipation. In this technique, what we do, we remove the clock signal when the circuit is not in use. The power dissipation is saved by pruning the clock tree. Pruning the clock generally disables that portion of circuit which is not in used. So this is the generation of clock gated signal. Generally, clock gating works by taking the enable conditions attached to registers, shift registers and flip-flops where a clock is applied. The second dynamic power controlling phenomena is by variable VDD, means by using the variable power supply. So in this technique there are several different but fixed voltage sources used, which is called as multi VDD. So voltage and frequency is varied as per design need, which is called as dynamic voltage frequency scaling. So the dynamic voltage and frequency scaling is associated when high speed is required. So we know that for if VDD is large, then the delay is low, means the speed is high. So the dynamic voltage and frequency scaling technique associated with dynamic voltage scaling and adaptive voltage and frequency scaling. This is a very effective technique to reduce the power where speed is also a necessary parameter. The third one is the variable VDD. So in variable VDD is controlled by a control circuit or control loop. So for example, we have 3 blocks in a circuit. First block is required to be a high speed. So for high speed the delay should be low. So the first block can be controlled or can be connected with a high power supply, and for example we required second block as a low power dissipation. So we can control the second block with lower power supply, means lower VDD. Similarly we can control the speed as well as power dissipation of any device or any logic by dividing them into a block. Now some of the multiple threshold technique which is used to control the standby leakage, means static power dissipation. So if high VD and high VT, one one is the P mass, which is connected with VDD, and N mass is connected with ground. And in these two transistors there is CMOS logic, normal CMOS logic, which has low or normal threshold voltage. So this CMOS logic block is made up for high speed operation, but two transistors connected just between VDD and below VDD and above ground. These are controlled by a standby signal and used to prevent the leakage in standby mode. So some of the other techniques are there, such as bulk biasing. So by applying a voltage on bulk, we can control the threshold voltage of that particular MOSFET. This phenomena is happen because of the body effect. So if the bulk voltage of an NMOS drop below the source voltage, means VBS is negative. So to understand this effect, suppose Vs equals to Vd equals to 0 and Vg is somewhat less than Vth, so that a depletion region is formed under the gate, but no inversion layer exists. As Vb become more negative, more holes are attracted to the substrate connection, leaving a larger negative charge behind. As depletion region become wider, threshold voltage, now we know that threshold voltage is function of the total charge in the depletion region, because the gate charge must mirror before an inversion layer. So the body effect, or it is also known as backgate effect, can be given as Vth equals to Vth 0 plus gamma in bracket under root mod of 2 phi f plus Vsb minus under root mod of 2 phi f bracket close, where gamma is nothing but denoted as the body effect coefficient and Vsb is the source to bulk potential. So if VBS is negative, means VSB is positive, means as we are going to increase the VSB, the Vth is greater than Vth 0, so Vth will increase, and if VSB is below 0, Vth will decrease. And by this connection we can control the threshold voltage. Now some of the recent trends in low power VLSI design, which are generally we can focus, or designers also focus on high speed along with low power dissipation. So there is a charge steering technique in which a current steering device or current steering circuits is changed into charge steering. A resistor which is changed in switch, MOSFET switch and capacitors. Therefore, continuous behavior is changed into discrete behavior. Hence, the dynamic power is controlled at very high speed. Second is the sub-threshold MOSFET operation. Subthreshold, we have discussed that subthreshold is nothing but VGS is just equals to VTH. There is a weak inversion layer exist. So if a MOSFET is working in the subthreshold region, means the requirement of VGS is very low and VDS is roughly about 0.2 or 0.3 volt, means a MOSFET which is operating in the subthreshold region required lower power supply, which is about 0.3 volt or 300 millivolt, and also required VGS equals to VTH, means the power dissipation of that particular device which is working in the subthreshold region is very low. So nowadays many of the analog devices are made up of this particular operating region, which is called as weak inversion region or subthreshold region. There are several OTAs which is made up of this device. So next one is a FinFET. So to understand the FinFET, we have to understand the MOSFET. So MOSFET is a single gate device, means the channel is controlled by a single gate. However, a FinFET is nothing but a fin field effect transistor, which is a multi-gate device. So a MOSFET is built on a substrate where the gate is placed on a 2, 3 or 4 sides of a channel or wrapped around the channel, forming a double gate structure. These devices have been given the generic names FinFETs because the source drain regions forms fins on the silicon surface. The FinFET devices have significantly faster switching, which are nearly 2 to 3 times higher current density than planar CMOS device. FinFET is typically a non-planar transistor or a 3D transistor, which is a basic for modern nanoelectronic semiconductor device fabrication. Involvement of electron tunneling through short channel and thin insulator films. We have discussed about gate tunneling. So therefore associated leakage currents and the static power dissipation, short channel effects, and the variation in device structure and doping, these all the factors limits the performance of CMOS. Therefore CNT is means carbon nanotube based FET is very active and very activated nowadays by the researchers. So now we are approaching towards the end of my lecture. So we have seen that leakage power dissipation become very challenging when you going to when CMOS technology is reduces below 50 nanometer. So the several techniques available to control the power dissipation, but below the 50 nanometer technologies, the static power dissipation or the leakage power dissipation are very effective. Therefore, to control these, we have to approaching towards the new technologies such as FinFET and CNT FET. We have also seen that low power dissipation techniques results in very high delay. So because of the trade-off available between low power and high delay, so the several research topics has been recently developed to reduce the delay as well as power dissipation. So this is the end of low power VLSI design lecture. These are some of the references in which Kaushik Rai and S.C. Prasad low power CMOS VLSI circuit design is one of the important book. So we can carry on. Thank you guys, thank you for watching this video, thank you very much.